Welcome back to the channel. This week on the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener, we get my outside tomatoes in. We plant up the outside flower pots for the deck to help encourage the bees for the backyard. We get some more direct sowing done, and we look at a new way of keeping the cats off the newly planted beds. On top of all that, I announced the two winners for the giveaways to celebrate my 6-month anniversary vlog 26. Come potter with me in the garden. My name is Dawn and I am the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener. Good afternoon. Well, it is Saturday the 8th of November and it's warm. I'm hiding in the only wee bit of shade up on the deck at the moment, and I'm wanting to try and get my outside deck tomatoes, the cherry ones, in if I can. Don't think I'm going to get them all in it before the sun hits me, but I'm going to try. One of my aims for today was to get some of the tomatoes in. So I've done a few in the greenhouse this morning before it got too hot in there and I got chased out of there. I've still got probably another 3 tomatoes to go in there. Got my chilies to go in, they're ready, they're just sitting there. I've had to give them a wee spray because they're covered in white fly and I haven't been able to get it off in any other way. So I've got my chilies, my things. I'll probably put in a couple more capsicums. Need to get in my cucumber. The old cucumber that I'd had is just not responding. It's looking sicker than ever, so it's coming out and I'm just going to put in something like a market more, which I've got growing already. What else? Oh, and my melons. So I'm going to do a couple of melons. They're growing already. Just going to do a rock melon, and I've got some watermelons. Now, I have never ever been able to grow a watermelon to actually get as a fruit. Yep, I've grown a couple and they've given me little green balls that have been totally uneatable, but this one is called Sugar Baby, and it's meant to be, I think, round about yo size, so they don't grow big, yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. You're meant to be able to get them in this sort of climate to grow in a greenhouse, so that's my aim. So 1 rock melon and 1 Sugar Baby. So I think that's everything in the greenhouse. The chilies I'm doing are going to be, depending on if I've got room, I will do a standard red cayenne, but the other two that I really want to do is the orange habanero and the lemonade. So those will definitely be going in. The cayenne will only go in if I've got the room. I've already got in, as far as capsicum's concerned, a red sweet long pepper, and I think I put an orange one in. So I'll see if I can make room for a yellow one as well, and maybe a red California Wonder bell pepper. I'll see. Just really depends on how much I can cram in there. I'm fairly good at keeping my greenhouse tomatoes and things like that pruned back so that I can cram in things a wee bit tighter. I quite like pruning them and what have you, find it quite good on a nice cool morning, just get in there and give them a bit of a haircut and a tidy up. So that's my aim, to cram in as much as possible, keep them tidy so that they've got plenty of air circulating and that they don't get any diseases. Oh, I know what's the other thing I forgot. My eggplant. So I've got the standard Black Beauty and the other one is carafe. Now, I'll definitely put the carafe in, but depending on the room, I may or may not put the Black Beauty in. Saying that, I have actually grown the Black Beauty outside the greenhouse, and it's actually done better outside the greenhouse than it did in the greenhouse. It seemed to get every bug known to man in the greenhouse. When I got sick of it and chucked it outside, thinking I'd get rid of it, like cut it down and get rid of it, and just forgot about it, it fruited and I got some really good eggplants off it, so go figure. Now for the cherry tomatoes that I'm planning to pot up now and put on the other side of the deck, which is currently in the sun, and I'm not sitting over there because I'd cook, hence I'm hiding over here in the shade. I've got just a standard sweet 100, so standard little red cherry. I've got Sun Gold, which is a F1, so but I really like it. It cooks incredibly well when you do it in things like quiches and what have you. It just caramelizes down beautifully. And the other one I'm doing is Sunrise Bumblebee. Now I did that last year for the first time. Didn't get a lot off it because just a really shitty season, but it does produce a very nice little cherry tomato that is a red and not quite golden yellow, but yellowish stripe. So yeah, so they're the ones. I've also got in the greenhouse at the moment, and I may end up drag them around here, some black cherry. I inadvertently planted 2 pots. I thought I had only potted 1, but I managed to pot 2. Just not paying attention with what I was doing when I did it. But so I may drag that around, but thinking it might need the heat of the greenhouse more. If it stays really hot, the other thing that I might put out here in the next week or 2 is I actually might put a lunchbox cucumber, so that's the patio snacker, which was the one that I had originally done in July as my winter experiment. So and see if that grows out there. The one that I'm planning to put in the greenhouse is the Market More, which grows sort of the standard cucumber type, but it's meant to have quite firm flesh and not a lot of seeds and be good for both eating and or pickling if you want to do that. So yeah, that's what my plan's there at the moment. Don't think I'll put any melons or anything out here at the moment, but you never know. If I've got extra plants, I tend to try and find homes for them, like a lot of gardeners do. So I'm going to get on with getting this in. I'm pretty sure, looking at the way the sun's coming towards me, as you can see just there, I'm not going to get a lot done here before I'll have to retreat, but once it cools down I can come back out this evening or first thing tomorrow morning when it's cooler and get it done. The other thing I really want to get done this weekend is more out into the veggie beds. It's too hot to be sitting out there at the moment. I'll cook, but I want to get the carrots, the parsnip seeds and the beans in. That's the other thing that I was going to put up on the deck, just remembered, beans. So what I was thinking of doing was doing runner beans for the first time. I've never done runner beans because I've never had anywhere to actually do them. So I had played with the idea of putting some runner beans in a pot and doing them up my obelisk that I've got left over. I'll see how I go with that. I'm still maybe playing with the idea of popping it in one of the beds, maybe where the beans, the broad beans have been, where I was going to build the wee lettuce thing, so I could have the lettuce thing on the compost bin side and then do the beans on the other side. But I've been looking at the long range weather forecast, and while they say it's going to be above average temperatures in the East and the South Island this summer, they're also saying that we're going to get quite a lot of wind. So after having my broad beans completely annihilated and deciding not to do the corn because of the wind, I may be a bit foolish by putting up my runner beans out in the garden, whereas if they're in a pot, I can always try and drag them inside. Don't tell Abby. Anyway, I'm going to get on with it. We'll do a bit of speedy. Oh, Bo's just come through. He's been trying to hide from the sun too. It's a bit hot for him. It's not a good thing to be a black cat in the sun. I think he's off to his favourite spot to go and have a sleep. So we'll leave him to it while we do some work. Just before I forget, when I'm doing pots and things like that, I need them raised a wee bit just to make it easier. I can do them lower down, but it just makes it a bit more difficult. So I end up usually just turning one of these upside down and then putting the other one on top of that and then planting on it. And then I can usually get it down, because it's just a straight drop onto whatever surface and get it where it needs to be. Just makes it a wee bit easier on your back. It's just one of those things that, you know, with being disabled or you're getting older and a bit more slow and what have you, you just work these things out for yourself. What works for you is the best. So that's the sunrise bumblebee, and I've still got the other two to go, but as you can see the sun's moved right through to here. I've had a few things going on in the background, so I've been in and out and finally got this done. So I'm probably going to leave the rest for now. As you could see, when I filled up the pot, I filled it up so far, and then I popped the pot in on top. It was about halfway, and then I put the rest of the dirt around the pot, firming it in, and then just lifted the pot out and then popped the plastic pot off and dropped it in. That way it'll disturb the roots less. I did clean up around the bottom of the tomato, removed any shoots that were close to the ground, because there's always the chance of water splash on those, and when the water splashes on the dirt and up onto the tomato, it just increases the risk of disease, etc. So try to remove those. As it is a cherry tomato, I haven't removed any of the laterals at the moment. I'll think about that. The ones further up I definitely wouldn't, but maybe the ones further down I will do that. I'll just see. The actual root ball was quite dry, despite the fact that it was watered yesterday. I don't think I watered it this morning. So what I'll do in the near future, like in the next hour or so, I will make up a very, very dilute seaweed mix and give it a good soak. Just come out and give it a feed every 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to leave that there for now. Maybe later this evening I'll get out and do a bit more when it's a bit cooler. We've got a high cloud coming in, so it might make it a bit better later on this afternoon. I don't know. But like to do a wee bit of evening gardening, but with the pussycats being locked inside in the evenings, they don't appreciate me being out and them being in. And the reason we lock them in is because we do have possums and things like that around, and we don't want them hurt. So yeah, that's the rationale behind that. So I'll catch up with you soon. Good afternoon. Well, it is now Sunday the 9th, and I'm back where I was yesterday. I have got the other tomatoes planted up. They're over on their sunny spot on the deck. But one of the things that I had been planning to get done this weekend and needed to get done was to plant up some flower troughs. I like to have the flowers in and around my back garden, help with the pollinators and things like that. Plus, they look nice. So, now one of my favourite combination is lobelia and petunias. And I've always struggled to grow lobelia and petunia from seed. My dad always used to grow them. No problem. I used to get the job of pricking them out into seed trays till they were big enough and things. But I don't seem to have the knack anymore. So this year I've tried again. I have had more success this year, I must admit. Definitely the petunias have done better, and so have most of the lobelia. But I still haven't got anywhere near enough to do what I want, so I have got out and bought some. It's one of the few things that I buy from the plant-wise that I buy from any nursery. So I went out on Monday, did a few things, and I picked up about 12 6 cells of mixture of lobelia and petunias. So I'm going to try and get some planted out. Now these are new ones. I've got a whole lot more that I'll be planting up today as well, but I thought I'd do the new ones first, only because I'm going to have to empty the old ones of the soil that they've got in them and revitalise it and mix it and redo all that sort of stuff. And at the moment, I'm running out of shade again. It's about 20 degrees. Of course, way hotter when you're sitting in the sun. So I'm hiding in the shade at the moment. I had been out in the greenhouse this morning trying to get the last of my stuff in there, because we had cloud cover, but I kept getting interrupted by things. And by the time I got back in there, it was way too hot, so I got 2 more tomatoes in and then bolted. So yeah, it's been one of those funny days again. But yeah, these ones come, you got to buy the trays, I think, yep. But they also don't have their drainage holes in it, which is a real pain in the ass. So I'm going to have to put the drainage holes in. They've got the dilly bits to do it, but it's still actually really quite thick, and you've got to be careful as you do it. I'm going to have to go and find I think it was a Phillips head screwdriver I used last time, not sure. I'll go and find something sharp that I can get through there and do those, and then we'll go through with what I'm going to mix up and put in these containers, because putting either straight soil or straight compost in them isn't ideal. I mean, straight soil, no, because it just compacts down and just turns into a hard block, especially if they get too hot and they get dried out, and it becomes impossible to rehydrate them then, even if you're soaking them. Compost is better, but similar to the soil, once it dries out, it can become hydrophobic. So that means it won't accept water. The water will just run across the top, down the sides, through between, and not actually into the soil and be available for the plant. So we'll look at the mix that I use. It's not perfect by any push of the imagination, but it does help a bit. So I'm going to go and find something to fix these up first, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I got the holes done in that. That took me a wee bit longer because I got distracted again. Someone came to the door. So what I'm going to do now is go through what I'm going to mix it up with, and so that we can see, and then I'll move through. So I've just, so that people can see, I've got a bucket of the stuff that I use for almost everything. This is the bought stuff. It's called Super Grow, but it's just a mixture of soil, pig poo and all that sort of thing, and it's been rotted down for some time, and I find it's great for everything. This is the stuff I sieve for my potting mix for all my plants for seed raising and things like that. I just sieve it in a one of those soil sieves. I think it's a 5mm gap, and it works really well. So that's what I've got for this. And the thing I quite like about this is, yes, it's a bit rough in its natural form, but because it's rough, it doesn't pack down into a hard brick when it gets dry and as it settles. Because it's got organic matter in it, tiny wee bits of stick and things like that, it keeps its sort of aerated state, so that the plant actually has the option, we've got air around the roots, because that's important. The plant needs air around its roots. That's why when plants are waterlogged or sitting in water for a long time, they're literally drowning, because they can't get the oxygen they need from the water. They need to be able to get oxygen that they need from the soil, and it needs to be light and fluffy-ish. So that's that bit. Now, I usually also throw in some longer term sort of food for them. It just gives them a boost and things like that as they go, and helps their roots go down. And I just usually use the good old-fashioned sheet palette, because they dissolve slowly and give out stuff. So yeah, just depending on what size container you got, you throw it in. Here comes the Louis, by the way. So that just gets all mixed, and I'm just doing this for demonstration. I would normally use the wheelbarrow, but it's sitting out in the heating at the moment, and I really don't want to cook anymore. So yeah. Now, the other component I often put in, depending on what I'm using it for, but this is for flowers, so I'm okay with that, is just sorry about the noise on the mic, a white chippy stuff. Now, this is cheap cat litter, basically. It's called Zoelite, bit like... I can never remember the difference between permalite and vermiculite. I think it's vermiculite's the one that retains moisture. I always get those two confused up. But the idea is that, cat litter, you need something to absorb the moisture when the cat pees in the cat tray. So this is clean. This isn't reused. This is clean. And I just find if I pop that in there and pop several handfuls in there and mix it up, it just helps retain the moisture. So just depending on what amount I'm doing, I'll just put it in, okay, and mix it up. And it's really good for keeping the moisture in the soil, because, that's what it's there for. It's to absorb liquid. And it just prevents it becoming completely hydrophobic. And if it does get really dry, it will actually help absorb the water into it. But usually what you'll have to do if it becomes hydrophobic is actually pop, in this case, one of these flower troughs, into, say, your wheelbarrow full of water so that it can soak up through. Just hosing it won't work, because the soil, it'll just run off. It just becomes like cling film, sort of. It just, plastic coated, just runs off. Right, so I'll throw a bit more of that in there, mix it up, and then we'll look at what I'm going to plant up. We're going to have to do it fairly quickly because I'm rapidly running out of shade again. Now, when you're filling up your trough, fill it up as much as you can, because it's new soil, it will settle, and then if it settles too much and you've only sort of like half filled your trough, you're going to end up with very little soil or dirt to support your flowers that you got in there. Now, you might ask, what do you do with the trough at the end of the season? Often I just revitalise the soil, throw everything into the wheelbarrow, take out anything that's not useful. Sometimes I'll leave a lot of roots in because they'll break down and help later. And then just revitalise it, add a bit more of the Super Grow, mix it all up, and in autumn I'll put all my bulbs in there. If I've got too much, because I've been adding some new stuff, I'll just throw it out onto the garden beds as extra stuff. And the Zoelite isn't a problem, it just adds to it and it'll break down eventually. So yeah, it's not a biggie as far as I'm concerned. It's worked well, I've done it for years. So right, I'm going to get some plants and we're going to have a look at them and pop them in, and I'm going to see if I can just tip the camera ever so slightly, because I've got the trough sitting on a upturn planter at the moment, but it's still just out of view, so you may lose the top of me, but you'll be able to see this, and then we can go through what I'm going to put in there and how I'm going to do it. Okay, you can't see me, but that's fine because you see me a lot anyway. So I bought some petunia and some lobelia on Monday, and they've been around in the garage area and out the back, and I bought them out yesterday to the deck area, no, day before that, to try and get them acclimatised. But unfortunately this morning, even though they'd had some water, this one's gone a bit bleh. So I'm not quite sure if that particular flower is going to survive, but it's just had a big long drink and a water bath. So what I like to do is usually like put my petunias in the middle and some lobelia on the outside. Often I'll put some cascading stuff around as well and just mix it up, and it looks really nice by the, give it a week or two and it will take off. So I'll do this quietly and bring you back once I've done it. Okay, so that's that done. It looks a bit scraggy at the moment, but give it a couple of days in good water and what have you, and it will start to come right. So what I've done is I've got 3 petunia in here. They are a mauvey colour, and then I've got some dark blue upright lobelia at the back, and then I've got some cascading light blue lobelia in the front, and that's probably enough plants for that. So they will start to take over and bush up and start to look really good in the next couple of weeks, and we can check them out then. But yeah, so that's what I'll be doing over the next few days. I'll be planting up some more of those and getting those troughs done, revitalising the troughs that I've already got, and working my way through those. So as you can see, the sun's caught up with me, and I'm run out of shade now, so I'm going to give up doing this for a bit. I'd love to be able to do gardening in the evening, but I'm often too tired by that stage to do it. I used to love gardening as the sun was going down, but nowadays I'm usually asleep before the sun goes down. But I'll get these done over the next few days, and I'm going to be doing some pots around the front, around the greenhouse as well. I've already planted some seeds, some nasturtium seeds of all different colours, and I've also got a few and some 6Ls that I might plant out. I'll go and have a look to see if the sun's moved from there. I'm pretty sure that it's still on that side of the greenhouse, but I've got plenty of watering to go and do, so I can go and do that instead. And if I'm feeling up to it this evening, I might come out and do a bit more. Normally I don't now, because as I said, I'm tired, but also because we've often got the cats in by that stage, and poor old Louis, if he sees me out gardening and he's stuck inside, he's not pleased. So it is what it is, and I don't like to torment the poor wee thing. We keep them in at night for them to prevent them hurting anything nature-wise, but also to prevent them being hurt, because where we are, we do have possums and things like that, so we keep them in for that reason. And if we don't get Lou in and then give him his evening meal, we just don't see him after that. He's gone. He loves being outside, and any excuse to get out, he'll be out. But I'll leave it for today, and we'll catch up probably Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to get out, and depending on the amount of sun and what have you, I've got my tomatoes, outside tomatoes, they have hardened off, they're all ready to go. They can go out and get some more seeds in and things like that. I know I've been talking about doing it, and I keep meaning to do it, but things always get in the way. But Tuesday and Wednesday are earmarked for that at the moment, as long as it's not blisteringly hot in the sun. So catch you then. Good afternoon. Well, it is Friday the 14th. It is show day here in Canterbury, so it's a public holiday, or otherwise known as Canterbury Anniversary Day. So yeah, everyone's got the day off. Well, most people have got the day off. And I have finally got out to do my outside tomatoes, the ones that are going into one of the beds, and that's some Roma and mini makers going in there. They've had probably close to a week outside, just acclimatising, so hardening off, and we had significant rain yesterday, so the soil's perfect really for it. One of the other things I'm planning to do after I've got the tomatoes in is actually do some more direct sowing, which I was going to do earlier in the week and just time got away from me. So I'm going to try and do that as well. So looking at carrots, parsnips, some beans, hopefully get them all in, maybe some beetroot. Not many people in the house eat beetroot, so other than pickled beetroot. So I'll see how I go with what I've got. I've got them all sitting out over the other side, ready to go. But I'll start off with the tomatoes and then go on to this, onto the direct sowing. Just by the by, the peas that we did last log, the ones that were already growing seem to be doing okay. Some of them are starting to shoot away. And the seeds that we planted, they've just popped up over the last day or so that's good. So some of the direct sowing is doing really well. So we'll get on with the tomatoes and I'll just get on and plant them. We've planted things together, but once I've done them, if there's anything I can think of to tell you about them, I'll come back and we'll go through that together. Just sort of something to tell you. So when I plant my outdoor tomatoes directly into the beds, I dig a reasonably deep hole, because what I tend to do is plant them up to the first set of leaves here, so it gives them a bit more support, because tomatoes will grow roots along here where they've got the little furry steps, furry stem. And the other thing I do before I plant them is just give them a quick tidy up, remove any of the shoots in between. You don't have to, I just do it for the money maker. You wouldn't do it for the Roma, because Roma's a bush tomato, so you want them nice and bushy. Just make sure you've got a nice strong centre stem, a leader. And I'll probably retie this one into here, and then I'll also tie it into the stick that I've got there, the cane. What I've popped on the bottom is I've mixed in some sheep pellets and some about half a handful of sheep blood and bone. You don't have to, I just like to give them a boost. And interestingly enough, digging that hole, it's still reasonably dry there, and despite all the rain that we had yesterday. And it was a good dose, and it was really appreciated, because the poor old garden was starting to look a bit dry despite it being watered. Rain, of course, is way much better than just watering your garden. But anyway, so that's that one. That's a money maker, and I'll get that in, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at the others. Got the 3 money makers in. And because the way that they've been growing in a pot in the middle, they don't go right up against the fence / stake. So I just lean them in ever so slightly and then tie the leader in. And at this point, I'm being very good, they're tied in. As the summer moves on, I probably get a wee bit less good at tying things in and trimming them. Gets a bit hot out here at times during the day, and as I said earlier in the vlog, I tend to run out of steam in the evenings these days, so I don't get out and do my evening gardening the way I used to, but we'll try and keep on top of them. Now I'm going to do Maroma, but I'm going to be a wee bit naughty here. I'm going to put 2 in one hole. There is a reason, sort of. So I've got a really healthy one that I've just actually dragged out of the greenhouse, so it actually hasn't been hardened off, because one of the ones that I had hardening off unfortunately has had a bit of an accident and has bent significantly there. Now it's not bent as in broken completely, and tomatoes will often heal around there. It'll just put a callus around there, but it may not, so I'm etching my bets and planting 2 in one hole, and this one's just getting an extra chance of life. So, and as you can see, I've cleaned off the stem here, and I've nipped off everything that's potentially going to grow on the lower part at the moment, and just concentrating on the bit that will grow up and produce more for me later. But get these 2 in, and hopefully I won't regret doing it later. Right, the tomatoes are in. So the Roma and the moneymaker. Now, Roma are a bush tomato, and I always get this mixed up, but this is the easiest way that I can remember it by association, is that bush tomatoes, aka things like Roma, are determinate. They have a finite. They grow, they put their fruit out all at once, and they're done. Indeterminate tomatoes are things like cherry tomatoes, which will grow, and you can harvest as they grow, and they just keep putting up more trusses further up as they go. It's the easiest way. Often what I have to do is write on the label to prune or not to prune. So determinate tomatoes like Roma, you don't prune. They're bush tomatoes, and you don't need to nip out the wee bits, the laterals. But indeterminate tomatoes are better if you do prune them, those wee laterals out. But because I keep forgetting which is what, I often just write on the label a P for prune, and if they haven't got a P, I don't prune them. It's the easiest way for my poor old brain can get my head around it. So anyway, that's the tomatoes here. I will put a few more, I think, up on the deck. I've still got spares and what have you, but that'll be next week or the week after. They're quite happy just sitting in the greenhouse. So what I'm going to go on to next is doing some seeds, and we'll go through them as well. So I'm just prepping to do some beans at the moment. I've got the netting up like I did for the peas. Just going to pop a bit of blood and bone in there, and like the peas, I'm just going to drop the beans along on top to start with, and then just poke them in, and once done, give them a good water. Going to do some green beans and some yellow beans, and they're just the dwarf type because, as I've indicated previously, the runner ones, I really don't have anywhere for them to grow here, and anywhere that I can put up something, they just get blown. I am going to try one experimental pot up on the deck and use the house to shelter it somehow, but I'm going to work on that in the next day or two. I've got the obelisk out and ready for it. I just got to find a pot that it'll fit and go from there. So I'm going to find my beans, and once I've done them, we'll catch up again. Right, beans in, one row of green, one row of yellow, and hopefully they'll germinate. I've had patchy germination over the last couple of years of the beans, so I have tried different varieties. Not sure why it's patchy, but it is. As I said, the peas are already popping up, which is great. I was going to put some blood and bone on there, and then I realised I did that the other week, so I don't need to. And I did that bed as well. I'm going to go and do some carrots and parsnips now. I've gone about a third the way down this bed, which is the one closest to the strawberry bed. I'm going to stop here at the moment because I want to put my courgettes in this bed down the far end. So once they're in, I'll have a better idea of how much I'll have left to plant other stuff. But I will put the carrots, the parsnips, and maybe one row of beetroot in behind me. So I'll get on with that, and we'll have a look at what I do. Okay, so I'm set up to do some carrots. I've got a very unhelpful helper. Lou's lurking around. He keeps trying to steal things and jump on things, and generally be his helpful self. Yeah, I got carrots here, and I'm doing my touchon, which is my fave. And the reason why I like them is because they've got the blunted end and they don't dive down. I'm also going to do some parsnips, and I'm only going to put one row of parsnips in, and they'll be the hollow crown ones that I've been doing previously that I've had quite a lot of success with. So yeah, 2 rows of carrot, 1 of parsnip. Fortunately, the wind's got up, so it's going to make doing them a wee bit more difficult because you know that carrot seed and parsnip seed's really light. So the parsnip seed may end up blowing away, so we'll just see how we go. But anyway, I'm going to do the carrots first. Now, with the carrots, I am usually fairly good at doing the thinning out. So I do tend to, sorry, I'm just checking where Lou was so I don't move my chair and hurt him. He's moved over into the shade. I'm fairly good at doing the old thinning out, which is good. But what I'm going to try and do this year too, and I did it last year and it worked out reasonably well, is rather than making a really thin drill, I made a slightly wider drill, and that worked out quite well. And I'm not going to dig particularly far down on this soil, because what I'm going to do, and I've done it in the past with this finer seed, is that I put some finer compost directly over the top, because this is quite coarse, and so it's less likely for the seed to germinate easily. So just make a reasonable sized drill for that lot. Yeah, not too deep, because carrot seed is fine. And I always use a paper clip just to keep my little packets, once they're folded over, it just stops them ending up everywhere. So let's see how we go. I'll probably only just put a wee bit of seed in my hand at a time because of the wind. See what I mean by the wind? And just keep it fairly close to the ground and make a marker to see where I am starting, because I'll go around the other side in a minute and finish it. And you want to add enough so that if you don't get a great strike, you're at least getting a reasonable amount of carrots, but also you don't want it so that it's a hedge either, and that it becomes difficult to thin out, because once the root of a carrot's been disturbed, it potentially won't grow correctly after that. Hence why you can't sort of thin carrots out and plant them elsewhere, because they don't transplant. And I know over in places like the UK, they actually try and sell carrots in 6 cells for you to plant out. So, you know, that's kind of weird, and not great. Right, just put that under there. Oops. Yeah, nothing like a good Easter egg. Excuse for the rattling of the bag for a sec. Oh. Right, I just might turn you off for a sec while I open this bag up, because it's going to be incredibly noisy. Okay, bag open. Right, so what I'm going to do is just scatter a handful of reasonably fine compost over the top. I've just stuck a wee bamboo skewer in the ground just to see where I'm at, so that I know where I need to start on the other side when I move around. So, just do that. And then just pat it down so that there's good seed contact with the soil. And that's slightly damp, that compost, because it was sitting out in the rain yesterday, and even though it's in those sort of plastic sacks, the rain gets through. So I'll nip around and do the other side, and then I'm going to show you an idea that I have purloined, stolen, looked at from elsewhere, and I'm going to see if it works. Rather than the bamboo skewers that I did for the onions, I've got an idea of something else that I can try that I've seen another YouTuber using. No idea if it worked for me, but we're going to have a look. Right, seeds in. I'm only going to do 1 row at this moment because I want to see if this idea works first, and if it does, I may need more room and move my next row over. So the idea is something I've seen on Jess on plot 37. She's a UK vlogger, and she has an allotment, and she's been doing her vlogs, her weekly vlogs, for over 5.5 years. Really good stuff on it. They have an allotment, they have lots of challenges with animals in the area because she's close to a big park, Richmond Park in London, and so they have things like badgers and foxes and all sorts of things that get in. But the reason why she does this particular thing, nothing to do with the badgers and the foxes, is that she has chickens on the allotment. And of course, chickens like to scratch and peck and make a mess. And when she does direct sowing, or she does sowing of small plants, and she hasn't got the big cages that she's made for keeping the foxes and the badgers out, then she has been trying this and she's had some success, and I'm pretty sure she got the idea from another YouTuber or someone, but we'll have a look at what I've got. So what I've got is the same stuff as that I've been using for the beans and the peas, but what she does is she makes a little tunnel out of it, and that way the chickens don't get in underneath that. So it needs to be reasonably close to the ground for that. So I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm going to use a few of the skewers and see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just worth a try and see. I've got more of it. And that way I thought I wouldn't have to use so many skewers, that if I could get it to work. Put one on each side. And then just go along there. So give me a sec and I'll do it and see how it works. It sort of worked. I mean, the idea works. It's just holding it down is the problem. So I've ended up having to cross the bamboo canes over and see if I can hold it down. Otherwise, it just flicked up. But I do have some tent pegs. Now, I bought these for something else to do with the fruit across the back there, to hold the net down when I pop it up, which will be fairly soon. I'll pop the net along the top rail, and then I was planning to use these to anchor it down into the bed so that it didn't blow away. But I might just try a couple of these now with this and see if it works any better for this second row of carrots, and we'll go from there, because the skewers, while they work, I'm not sure how well they'll work for how long. But yeah, let's give the tent pegs go. Now I've got more of this just over there. I bought another roll because I need some more for some other stuff around the garden. Very durable, it doesn't fray or what have you, and leaves lots of bits of plastic. And when you do cut it, I just collect all the little bits of plastic and pop them in the bin. Yes, it is a bit of waste, but plastic's the most durable thing in the garden. And if you want something to last, I mean, some of this plastic netting I've had for about 7-8 years. So, and it's just hanging on. So we just have to sometimes make compromises, and if it's durable and it works for a long time, I'm usually okay with it. If it's not durable and it lasts the season, then yeah, it doesn't work. Right, I'm going to get on with the next row, and I'll bring you back once I've done that and see how it goes with the tent pegs. That worked better. Couple of reasons. A, it's just come off the roll, so it's still bendy, whereas that one had been laying flat behind some stuff. And while I had warmed it in the sun to try and bend it easier, it was still, a bit more flicky. And I've only needed a peg on either side at each end, so 4 pegs in total. They're just generic camping pegs that I bought from, not sure if it was Kmart or Warehouse or somewhere like that. They just came in a pack of, I think it was about 10. And as I said, I had originally planned to use them for holding the netting down to stop the birds getting my black currants and my gooseberries and things. So, but I can get more. So yeah, that works. Now I'm going to not put the parsnips in today because the winds got up and I just got the carrot seed in without it blowing away. So I'm going to pack up for the night and leave it there. And that will be the end of this week's vlog, except for our coffee and chat, which we'll probably do tomorrow, which will be Saturday, yes, but by that stage I'll have had a chance to do some editing and come up with a chat for you. Well, it's that time of week for a coffee and chat, though it's Sunday, because I wanted to leave the giveaways potentially running as long as possible. Now, while I've got my coffee, I'm not going to do actually a lot of chatting because I've done so much talking during the video now that I've been editing. I've just seen how much I've done. So I'm just going to get straight into the giveaways. So the first giveaway was donated by Sherry NZ Gardening on a Budgets page, and it's some seeds and a terracotta pot and what have you, and I'll pop up the picture of the prize up here. Now, just give me a sec, I have to read this, apologies. So the person that receives the prize for the comment is Alison Cox 2296. Now for this and the other one, I'll pop my email, the channel email up here as well as in the description, and if you email me your details then we can organise getting that prize to you. The second giveaway comes from me, the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener, and it is 9 packs of seeds from a well-known seed company, plus a pH and soil moisture monitor. So I'll package that up as well, and the details you can send me through to that email. And the person that receives this, and excuse me if I get the name pronunciation slightly wrong, is Bo Sherlock 3631. So congratulations on both of you, to both of you, and thank you very, very much for being part of this celebratory 26th vlog 6-month anniversary. I've really enjoyed doing the giveaways, and I'm thinking that I will do another one in the near future, maybe around Christmas, New Year time. I'll put a bit more thought into that and let you know closer to the time. I just want to thank everyone who subscribed. You're awesome. It's really making the dream of the channel becoming monetized way, way, way closer. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. But as I said, I'm not going to do a lot of chat, and I will just wish you all a happy and safe week, and that you have fun in your garden. So from me, until next week's vlog, bye.